How's it going, guys? Shane here again from the GnG Elite DBS team, and today we're going to take a look at what I expect the meta to look like in Atlanta, how you can better prepare yourself for that meta, and let's get into it. So, first, we're going to talk about Atlantic City. This was the first event with Clash of Fates, which is the meta that we're in right now. We're in the Clash meta until Set 6 comes out. Now, granted, you can't completely look at Atlantic City because that was pre-ban list. So the format was a little bit different, but there are still some things we can learn from that tournament. So, taking a look at Atlantic City, out of top 32, Shenron made up 8 of those 32 slots, and Janemba made up 7, being the big bads of the tournament. So, those decks are still very much viable. Shenron Gogeta's still here, Janemba's still here, they didn't take any hits. Harudegarn had 6, though, I mean, we can essentially count that out. You may still see a couple Harudegarns in Atlanta in the top cut, but not 6, simply because Storm's gone. Frieza Metamorphic Threat made up 3, Pan made up 2. These are going to be your red decks. I think red's in a very good position heading into Atlanta, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of them in top cut. Miracle Strike Gogeta, it's hard to assess this because we don't know what type of build it was. Just knowing the leader doesn't really help us. So there was one Broly, which we're going to see a whole lot of Broly, much more than one. One Bardock's crew leader, that was the red-blue Chain Zeno variant built to beat Shenron Gogeta, and 3 rogue decks. So, looking at this, a lot of these decks we're still going to see do well, like Shenron, Janemba, Frieza, and Pan, and the rest, and Broly, of course. Though the others, it's hard to tell. Now, granted, like I said, we have had the ban list since then, so that format has changed. So, for anyone who doesn't know or isn't aware, Goten got banned from, what else was there? Fluke got banned, Unyielding went to 1, and Cell went to 1. So, that, changes your format up. You take the best deck and you get rid of it, and you take hand-controlled droids out of the format. That changes it. So then we went into Euro Nationals, which was just this past weekend, where top 32 was 11 Janemba decks. That's kind of insane. 7 Broly decks, 5 Frieza, 3 Pan, 3 Shenron, 1 Golden Frieza U7, 1 Vegeta Baby, and 1 Knockout Strike Gogeta. So, Janemba, again, this deck's always been good since it came out, and it has never lost anything, while its competition continues to get hit, so it's not surprising to see this deck keep doing well and getting even better. It's hard for the deck to do worse when all the other good decks keep getting hit, and it doesn't. 7 Broly the Awakened Threat, these are most likely going to be mainly the Lineage deck with Path to Greatness and to Height of Mastery, though there could be a couple oddball ones there, like maybe Kid Buu, Red, generic Red, or other OTK strategies. The Frieza decks are just going to be the Final Showdown Frieza with maybe some Chain Attack in there. I do think the Frieza deck's better with Chain Attack, just as another option. 3 Pan, these are going to be Chain Attack decks, though I guess you could say they're veggies, but they're probably just Chain Attack decks. The Shenron list, you're going to have some hand control in there, as hand control is kind of making a comeback because of its very good matchup against Janemba, though they're mainly Gogeta lists. The U7 Frieza deck, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to assume was Victory Strike of some sort. Just stall, Victory Strike. Vegeta Baby is going to be a Chain Zeno deck more than likely. And Gogeta, again, it's hard to say. Just because it's such a generic leader, it's really hard to say. So, that was Euro Nationals. If there's anything we've seen, it's that the format is basically the same. Shenron became a little less popular, and Broly became a little more popular. So, other than that, though, the format's still pretty much the same. Not a whole lot's changed besides Harudegarn disappearing since Storm's dead. So, the format's still basically the same. So, luckily, there's not a whole lot of, like, last-minute, completely format-warping stuff to prepare for. On that note, though, I do think there's some spicy tech you'll see this weekend. And while I start talking through the rest of this stuff, I'm just going to, go through some random decks I found that are similar to these on DBS decks just to like kind of put something on the screen. None of these decks are mine. None of these decks are top cut decks. There's just random decks I pulled off of DBS decks to kind of put something on the screen. So anyway, I think there's some spicy techs you're going to start seeing this weekend that could be mainstays in the format that people didn't really consider before. So Deadly Defenders. I do think Deadly Defenders are going to come in just because they delay an attack that Height of Mastery can't get over because you want it to be tapped. Gogeta can't get rid of because it's on the field. So I think these are going to see a comeback. Not just like comeback, but they're going to come in general. Just because they cost 3 and Vegito costs 4. So especially in the blue decks too. It'll be weird to see them. I know a lot of people playing red are picking up the Deadly Defender Krillins. So I would expect the Deadly Defenders to come in and make an impact. Next I expect a lot of red Zeno decks. So Zeno, the red decks with Zeno do really well into Janemba. They're really good at interrupting a lot of these other decks. Now granted, they will struggle a little against Broly because of Cold Bloodlust, but they still have pretty good matchups across the board. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of the red Zeno decks in Atlanta. Ready Stance Son Goku, I believe is what it's called. It's the 2-drop barrier blocker from set 5. I would expect to see some people swapping Yajirobe out for him just because it has barrier. Granted, Height of Mastery still taps it, but just from my playtesting experience as a Shenron Gogeta player, it seems to be more annoying to deal with than Yajirobe. So I would expect people to, not all people, just some people to switch to this Ready Stance Son Goku. I would also expect to see a fair amount of the Super Baby Parasitic Menace Power Booster promo. Being able to go into the 5-drop 8 Baby on turn 2 is pretty lit, and a very powerful play that can swing a game all in itself. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a fair amount of those running around the tournament trying to do degenerate things. Expect lots of Cronoa, which could give room for a rise in Veggies seeing play. So with people opting out of playing things like Kami to play things like Cronoa to stop these Broly decks, I do think Veggies will make a comeback, and you will see a little bit of Veggies running around. I'm not saying they're going to do well, but I think you'll see them running around. There are some people, like, they're picking up popularity in the marketplaces, people trying to pick them up, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see these guys running around trying to make a name for themselves again. Crusher Ball should see lots of play. Crusher Ball is probably the best way to slow down these Height of Mastery decks with Broly, simply because you can just Crusher Ball the Path to Greatness and buy yourself, like, sometimes you can attack into it, force them to defend it, or you can just play Vegeta striving to be the best to pop it immediately, and that's going to be a big line of play. That's probably a big reason why you're seeing these Vegeta striving to be the best go up in price, is because Crusher Ball plus Vegeta is going to be one of the best answers to that deck. So, expect lots of those. You'll probably also see a resurgence in decks that can keep themselves at 8 life, such as U7 Frieza, just because they won't auto-lose to a dual-attacking, whatever you call it, Height of Mastery, and they'll have an easier time defending against Shenron Gogeta and things of that nature. So expect a resurgence in those type of decks that can just stall, and defend their life really hard. I do think Hand Control is going to make a resurgence. There's a list that a lot of the guys in the 3xG Discord have been working on that I think is really good and really underrated. They've been using the Hellfighter engine just to get out the Super 17 easier, and I think that deck's really good and has a lot of massive potential. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see some of those running around. Other than that, that's pretty much all the things that I think is going to happen, or like spicy stuff you might see in Atlanta. You know, there could be more that I'm just not aware of or that I don't think's legitimate enough, but, you know, only time will tell. So, our team's preparation for the event, there's 4 of us from the team going, as well as 2 of our friends. And so far, as everybody knows, I'm playing Shenron Gogeta. I'm just super comfortable with it. Now, I am that weirdo, and a lot of people are going to think I'm dumb for this, and maybe I am, but I just don't like blue-yellow Shenron Gogeta. I think it's super inconsistent, and I would just rather play mono blue and always do what I want to do on turns 4. Like, I don't know. Mono blue just seems infinitely more consistent, and when going to a big tournament, I'd rather maximize consistency as opposed to trying to tech for specific matchups that I might not even see, simply because it's a regional, and just because decks are tier 1 and there might be 40 of them floating around doesn't mean I'm going to play against it. I would just rather maximize efficiency. That's the type of player I am. And maybe I'm dumb, but it's worked for me in the past, and I'm going to keep doing it. Trevor's probably going to be playing Janemba. Excuse me. So, it's just, again, it's just another comfort pick for him, and the deck's doing really well, so there's not really a good reason to not play Janemba. Marcus, as you all know, is going to be playing Pan. Again, we are very high on these red decks, and Marcus plays a lot of Pan and has seen some pretty decent success. Now, he's never really played the red decks at a regional, oddly enough. All 3 of his tops come from Storm, and Stopping Power. But he has played probably more red decks than anything besides Storm. So he's going to be all up on this red Pan deck, trying to just out-aggression people and kill them on turn 3. Ryan has kind of been all over the place, but he's probably also going to be on red. Ryan just really likes red decks. So expect Ryan to be on a lot of some kind of pan list, probably be my guess, but I'm not 100% sure. I know it's going to have red in it. Our buddy Creed, I'm not going to go too deep into what he's playing, but he is playing a spicy red Shenron deck that can get all kinds of in-your-face very quickly, and people who aren't playing the feature rare Goku are going to be in for a bad time against him. Now, he could have a hard time getting through the jungle with this rogue build of his, but if he does, I think he can do pretty well. The deck's oddly powerful for something so weird. And then our buddy Brandon's going to be on a spicy probably OTK list that when it draws properly enough, it kills on turn 3, so he's going to be relying on a fair amount of luck. But if luck is in his favor that day, he'll do really well. He's just going to try and kill all these degenerate decks before they kill him, essentially. So, what I expect to see in Atlanta, obviously, I think it's safe to say Janemba's going to make up most of the top cut. But I do think a red deck is going to win the tournament as a whole and catch a lot of people off guard and finally solidify that red is a powerhouse in the format. And it's kind of a hot take because nobody's expecting red to do that well, but I think it will. So, anyways, guys, that's all I've really got for Atlanta. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, maybe you want us to take a look at a deck list, we'll be more than happy to. You can just leave it in the comments. And Marcus, Trevor, me, Dylan, Marquise, whoever, we'll all take a look at it and tweak it for you. And or if you just have any questions about your sideboard, is this card worth sideboarding, is this card not worth sideboarding, we can help you with that. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. And remember to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends. We're slowly climbing in subscribers again, so that's always nice. Eventually, we are going to do some giveaways. We're just trying to plan those and make sure that we can do them efficiently before committing to them. So, but anyways, guys, we'll see y'all in Atlanta, and stay elite.